What's good, everybody? Welcome into preview week on the Midstate 48, powered by Miracle Auto Group. This is the third of four episodes we're going to have this week, and we are focusing solely on 6A in this particular show. Let's go ahead and bring in the real stars of the show. Joe, Scott, and Cameron. Guys, how's it going?
Going well.
One day closer.
Scott, did you just dab?
He tried.
I tried.
Oh, well, I would wish you at least completed the dab before. If you're going to attempt it, at least, finish it off.
Well, I could have done the wave, but then I didn't want you to cut me off.
I would have kicked you out of the show if you'd done the wave.
That's what I think.
He knows my stance on that. So
we've been to too many hockey games together.
Yep, for sure. All right, before this thing gets off the rails, let's talk a little 6A football here, because it is our largest group by the number of teams. I think there's roughly 30 teams in our area that are playing 6A ball, and it's going to be a lot of our focus most of the season. This might be a year where we see a little bit more unpredictability, but everybody's still chasing Oakland as we start 23. Guys, let's get all your takes on it. Cam, I'm going to start with you. Oakland still the team to beat, to you?
I think so. Anytime that you return the talent that they have, and you add additions like Ashton Jones in the offseason, and then they got a big transfer out of Red Bank out of Chattanooga. That's a 4-star recruit. Yes, they lose T.T. Hill to Brentwood Academy, but, the young man from Red Bank pretty much replaces T.T. will do the same thing T.T. was going to do. And then Ashton Jones comes over from DCA, and it's hard in that type of offense to have a Mr. Football finalist, but Ashton Jones may be it for Oakland to win a Mr. Football this year. But I think it starts with Oakland. But as you said, a lot more parity this year. I believe there is. They may not be ready to knock off Oakland, but there's a lot of teams fighting for that chance this year.
Scott, I'm going to come to you next.
Yeah, I tend to agree with Cam that right now Oakland is the team that, and they will be until they get knocked off. But there are some good challengers that could take advantage of some situations if Oakland doesn't come out and play right. I think their biggest challengers are probably going to come out of Region 6 or within their own Region 3. You got to look at a Riverdale team that's returning some good players. A team like a Brentwood or a Ravenwood that could really challenge them in the right matchup.
All right, Joe.
Yeah, absolutely. Scott kind of mentioned it there. One of the teams I think that'll really challenge Oakland this year is another team that got a transfer from a Division 2A team, and that's Riverdale. I mean, Brock Montgomery gives the Warriors an offensive weapon they haven't had the last couple of years. Legit speed. He really dominated at the D2A level. In the preseason on 7-on-7, he and Braden Graham have really connected. I've talked to Braden Graham about him. He loves having him as a receiver. And defensively, you don't have the Caleb Herrings, the Elijah Herrings, those guys anymore, but they're still good defensively. They're going to be good. They have Jalen Thompson, the Michigan State commit. So I really like Riverdale to potentially test Oakland and really give them a challenge maybe they haven't been able to give them the last couple of years. And then another team I'm looking at, Brentwood. I think the Bruins are in for a huge year. So I think Oakland still runs 6A, but I think it's kind of a little more open with the teams behind them.
Yeah, Joe, you brought it up. Brock Montgomery does give Riverdale a weapon that I don't think that they've had in a little while. I mean, you're talking about a player that had almost 1,200 yards, 15 touchdowns. He had 3 touchdowns in the Blue Cross Bowl. That's a heck of a weapon to have on your team.
Guys, let's take a look at these new regions. And everybody's been affected by reclassification, and 6A was no stranger to that. Region 3 largely still intact with Rutherford County schools, although they do lose Stewart's Creek, and then they bring in Coffee County instead. Stewart's Creek on to Region 5, where they rejoin kind of old Metro rivals with Cane Ridge and Laverne and Antioch, McGavock, and Smyrna in that one as well. But let's start with Region 3. We've talked about Oakland. I mean, some changes over at Blackman. Chandler Tiger on to Cleveland, so Matt Kreisky comes in there, takes over the Blaze job. A bit of a transition from that wide open offense to more of a balanced type of style that they're hoping to play this year. We talked about Riverdale briefly about the changes over there and some of the new guys that are coming in over there. But what about Blackman? How do they kind of factor in this region?
For me, I think it's going to be kind of a learning curve for them. I mean, they're getting a great coach in Kreisky. I mean, that Riverdale Blackman game is going to be a lot of fun to see those two brothers go at it, leading their teams. Blackman's got talent. They'll have talent. I've seen them in 7-on-7. They got some offensive weapons that have really stood out. But I think it'll be a little bit of a learning curve. They're going against a Brentwood team week 1 that's gonna really test them. So that's gonna be a great opening game for them. But right now for me, I'd probably put them at the 4 in that region, and I think the team just ahead of them is Rockville. I really like the Rockets. They get Brendan Mayhew back, who missed the second half of last season with a broken ankle he suffered that against Nolensville. So I think the Rockets are in a good shot for the 3rd spot in that region.
Scott, you were there at that Nolensville game when Mayhew suffered that injury, so I'll come to you with that. What about Rockville? I mean, it seems like they were on a good trajectory before Mayhew's injury.
They were, and I think that just like Joe said, I think that right now they challenge for that 3. And it's not out of the realm of possibility that they could wind up challenging for the 2. I think they're that good at positions. Yeah. Up until the point they got hurt, they were on an absolute roll and just kind of seemed lost after that. So yeah, I think that they have the experience. They have the returning players. I mean, you look at a team like Blackman that's got 3 offensive returners come back. Joe's absolutely right. You're going to see a learning curve there. And I think that Riverdale is just too tough. But I think that they very well could make some noise there.
Yeah, I go right along with what you two have said. The one team, though, that we've not mentioned in this region is Siegel, a Stars team that picked up a couple big wins last year. One of them being on the road over a pretty good Lebanon team last year. So you can't count out the Stars, but I definitely think that we have the top 4 in Oakland, Riverdale, Blackman, and Rockville. It's just a matter of, can Riverdale step up to challenge Oakland? Are they ready for that yet? And then for Blackman, it's just how soon can their players get accustomed to the change of game type. You go from having a no huddle, fast score, we're going to outscore you offense, to now they're going to be more traditional with we're going to play good we're going to play good defensive football. We're going to run the football. We're going to control the game. We're going to wear you down. So it's going to be a matter of how fast Blackman can get accustomed to that, and will they be prepared enough once it comes time for that Riverdale game and those key games late against Rockville and Oakland.
Go ahead,
Joe. I was just going to say, I'm glad Cam mentioned Siegel, because Thomas Santel at the quarterback is just an incredible athlete. He's a 62% passer. He had 11 TDs last year. He can run. Siegel's got some talent over there, so you can't sleep on him.
I was just going to say with Oakland, we're talking about them still being the top of 6A, which I think rightfully so, and they do get some big pieces. They did lose some pieces. TT Hill, one of those guys that's transferred now. They graduated some really good offensive weapons like Khalil James. I think we're going to see a bit of a different Oakland team this year. I know in the last couple of years, we've seen Oakland, put up 50, 60, 70 points a game en route to the state championships they won. I think we're going to see a really defensive-led Patriots team this year. They got a lot of guys on that side of the ball that have a ton of experience. I look at their front 7 defensively might be the best in the state. Look at any class, they're going to be up there. So I think we'll see Oakland win a lot of games, still in blowout fashion, but it may not be the huge scores that we've seen out of them the last couple of years.
Well, the way it's going to shake out with Region 3 in the playoffs is they'll go over to Region 4 and face the likes of those Wilson County teams in Mount Juliet, Green Hill, Levin, and Wilson Central, and then you throw Gallatin in there, and you've got Cookeville and Warren County also in that region. So let's talk Region 4 for a minute. It seems like Mount Juliet's the clear favorite in this one because of what they've got coming back. But if there is another team to challenge them for that spot, Joe, who do you think it might be?
I look at Green Hill. I know that the Hawks lost a lot. I mean, they lost their quarterback. That's really led them in the last couple of years. Caleb Carver was one of the most exciting players in the state of any class. But you look at the depth of the roster the last couple of years at Green Hill. There were a lot of young kids playing on that team that got a ton of experience. I know last year kind of a down year for the Hawks, but then there were a lot of young kids that played on that region championship team a couple of years ago. So, and I think when Mount Juliet and Green Hill play, there's always fireworks. There have been the last couple of years. I think that's going to happen again this year. But I would agree. I think Mount Juliet with Tyler Travers returning at quarterback, he's a guy that needs to probably be talked about a lot more. He has great arm talent. He led he led Mount Juliet to some big wins last year. But for me, I'd probably go Mount Juliet, Green Hill, top 2 in that region.
Cam, what you got there?
Yeah, I would agree with that. Josh Crouch, you talk about a Green Hill program that's coming into their 4th year. This is his first group of seniors that he's had for 4 years. So he's excited about that and just slowly building this program the right way. You look at guys like Aaron Mattingly, that's going to be a big target for them at tight end. 6'5", is also a really good basketball player for them. Their starting quarterback that was going to start this year actually tore his ACL in the spring, but he is working to rehab. I'm not sure if he will be back by the end of the season or not. I know he'll start the season not being able to play, so that could be a big factor for Green Hill. But just a really good job Josh Crouch has done building that program from the ground up. Then we also look at Lebanon. You know, they have to replace a couple key weapons with Jalen Afston and Crowell. So can Chuck Gentry get those weapons replaced in time to compete in a tougher region? This is a tougher region for Lebanon, what they've had the last couple of years. And then we also have new coach Michael Stroop coming in with the Gallatin Green Wave. I look for them to be a playoff team this year. Different look for Gallatin instead of the traditional Gallatin look. I think it's going to be, as Coach Stroop is known for, the air raid, throw it out to your athlete and let him make a play. But another team in this region that I'm excited about, I'm not sure that they're ready this year. We talked about the Fairview team in 3A that may be a year away. This may be that team in Wilson Central. Coach Ben Kuhn coming over from Green Hill High School. I think he's going to do a great job with that Wildcat program. It just may take a year or two to get there.
I absolutely agree. Green Hill is the team right now that looks to be, especially defensively. They have I think they have 7-8 returning starters to that defense. It's really going to depend on how they do offensively as to whether or not they can finish in that second spot. I actually like Gallatin just from what I've seen and heard in the off season. I think that the things that they're doing over there, that Coach Stroop is doing over there, and is got that team energized. I think that team is hungry. It wouldn't surprise me to see them in that 3rd spot, maybe even challenge for the 2nd, whether they get there or not. But as Cam said, a sleeper here is Ben Kuhn and his team over at Wilson Central. We were over there for an early scrimmage. It didn't look like the same team as last year. They were banging hats and very physical. And I think that, he really is going to get that. And I also agree with Cam. We're looking at a team this year that could probably upset a few teams, win some games that they shouldn't. But I think their timetable is still 2 to 3 years out.
Yeah. Before we go any further, let's take a moment to thank the sponsors who are making this all possible. Miracle Auto Group in Gallatin, been a great partner for them for the last year or so, and they're back this year to sponsor the Midstate 48 plus our Players of the Week awards, and we're certainly happy to have them on. They're also a sponsor of the 615 Preps preseason showcase coming up this Friday at Oakland High School in Murfreesboro and East Robertson over in Cross Plains. So if you're interested to get out to a jamboree, come on by. We'd love to have you. $10 at each spot, and should be a great night of football all the way around. So big thanks to Miracle Auto Group for helping make all this happen. We're really proud to have them on. And Cam, I know you want to say a word too.
Yes, we will have merch at our jamboree sites this Friday night. So if you're looking for some 615 Preps merch, come on out and buy one of our 615 Preps Showcase Jamboree t-shirts.
Bingo. Those are going to be at both sites, depending on where you go, depending on the shirt that you get, because we've made one for each site. So it should be fun for everybody involved. Scott, what you got?
Collect them all.
In fact, Scott, I think you've got some of those shirts in the area, don't you? You got some at the house?
I do. Give me a second, and I'll talk amongst yourselves. I'll be right back. Take me off the screen.
That will work. We'll get you off the screen, and you can go grab those shirts real quick. But again, thanks to Miracle Auto Group for making all that happen. Real quick, while he's doing that, wait, there he's back now.
I didn't go far.
All right.
Okay.
Let's have a look at this shirt.
Do I need to back up?
You might want to. There we go.
There it is.
There it is.
All the teams at each individual jamboree. Well, looking at the wrong way. There they are.
Yeah.
Which one do I have? I have
the East Robertson.
The East Robertson one there because it's right there. And again, big thanks to our sponsors who make this possible.
Yep. Miracle Auto Group, Middle Tennessee Electric, Eden Insurance, and Python Line Sets all partnering to sponsor the preseason showcase this year. We want to certainly thank them for that. Let's keep going with the conversation in 6A, and now we'll turn our attention to the western half of the bracket, region 5, 6, and 7. We'll start in Region 5 with that metro region that regains Stewart's Creek after a couple of year absence. And this is a 16 region that Cane Ridge has really been. It's been Cane Ridge and Smyrna 1-2 the last few years. Is that kind of the direction you guys think this goes?
I think you can add a third team. I definitely think Cane Ridge and Smyrna are the usual suspects, as you say. But Stewart's Creek is there. Coming back over to Region 5. Natural rival game against Smyrna. Close game last year. Smyrna loses Arian Carter, which did a lot for them. I actually have Stewart Creek picked to finish second in this region behind Cane Ridge. Eddie Woods just does a great job at Cane Ridge. They never rebuild. They always reload. So I definitely like the Ravens to win the region. But this region is a huge question mark after that. I do like Stewart's Creek to finish second, Smyrna third. And then Laverne, McGavick, Antioch, which one's going to take that fourth spot? Probably leaning McGavick, but Antioch is making strides slowly and surely, as we mentioned in our previous shows. They're building the program, but it takes time.
Joe, do you concur with that top three, or do you go a different direction?
Yeah, I was actually wondering how everybody else thinks, because I actually have Stewart's Creek finishing second in that region as well. I just think with Cane Ridge, kind of like Cam said, they don't ever. I mean, Eddie Woods always has guys. You don't know the names yet. You will by week 4 or 5. They come out week 1 against Mount Juliet, and they're coming out swinging. That's going to be a fun game. They scrimmage great teams in the preseason like Innsworth to get prepared. But I really think the Stewart's Creek team, they took some strides last year, and I think they return a little bit more than Smyrna does. I know they have Nigel Maynard returning. He's a Pitt commit, I believe. I think he's in for a big season. So I think Stewart's Creek's just ahead. Then you have Smyrna at 3, and then probably McGavick at 4. But I think the other teams are starting to really catch up.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you. We talked to Coach Woods last year, and it was all about changing the culture there. And he's had a year to change that culture, and I think that he's continuing to build that process over there. They had some good success last year. As far as the second, yes, absolutely. Stewart's Creek. They've got 5 returning on offense, 4 returning on defense. Javarian Odie, at the running back positions coming back. They got good defensive back. I think they're a solid team. I really think that Coach Caudell is got that team really going. The third spot, yeah, I think you can look at that Smyrna. They've lost something a little bit, and they've got to rebuild. But one team I think will be a surprise in this, and maybe they shouldn't be, is Antioch. Coach Arnold. I looked at that team. I went out and visited them on the first day of practice. That's a team with size. That's a team that is getting more and more disciplined. He's installing his his system in there. They've got an offensive lineman that and I'll butcher his name, so I'm not gonna say it. Uh, but if you look at our YouTube channel, you'll see the interview. Uh, Guy's huge. Uh, they're just I think they're a well coached team. They looked great in 7-on-7, and I know that's 2-hand touch, but I mean they still compete. I'm really interested to see though what McGavick has. I'm really interested in that team. I haven't got to see them a whole lot. Um, you know, so I think that like you guys, I tend to lean 1 and 2 solid, and any for 3 and 4. I think at this point it's anybody's game.
I kind of feel like Smyrna might be slept on a little bit. Yeah, they got a lot of rebuilding to do, but Thomas Jones is going to be one of the top athletes in the area, regardless of classification. And I think they may still have a little something for Cane Ridge and Stewart's Creek in this region. So I'm curious to see how they handle it. But that's going to be a fun game when Smyrna and Stewart's Creek tangle in a bit of a city battle over there in Smyrna. Let's talk about Region 6. Now, the crossover in the postseason. Williamson County's glad they don't have to go out to Memphis this year as they get to handle Region 5 in the postseason. But before they get to that, they're going to have to battle each other. And a little bit of a change there this year as Overton joins that group, which they would have been in Region 5. They're now in Region 6. Centennial drops from 6A to 5A and opens a spot for them. It's still the other 5 teams at Brentwood, Franklin, Independence, Ravenwood, and Summit. And coming to week 11 last year, you had 4 teams that had a shot at first place in this region, depending on who won and who else won. Could we see a similar scenario in Region 6 this year, or is there a clear-cut team that jumps out at you guys? And Cam, I'll start with you.
I think there's a clear-cut team. There's really clear-cut 2. I believe you could end up with that same scenario, but it would be between Summit, Independence, Overton, and Franklin for the 3 and the 4 seed. I think we could look at week 11 and all 4 teams have a chance to make the playoffs, but only 2 of them will get in. I think Brentwood is the clear-cut favorite here. The Bruins are going to be a really good football team. They're going to play really good on the defensive side of the ball, return a lot from last year's team. You can't count out a Will Hester coach team at Ravenwood. They're going to put up points. Carter Pace is back healthy. That's a huge addition, one of the better running backs in our Midstate area. Definitely like them 2 at the top. And then, like I said, Summit, Independence, Overton, and Franklin, pick 2 at this point. I mean, because Franklin didn't win a game last year. They may be the best winless team in the country, not just our state.
Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned that Brentwood Ravenwood pair because those 2 teams now are going to play in week 11 this year. It's a bit of another change to the schedule. They've redone the region games, and those 2 are going to battle in the last week of the regular season for what could be a region title there. Scott, you and I were at Media Day for Williamson County, and some interesting notes from those guys over there. What stood out to you from what you heard, and how do you feel this region sticks out?
Well, I still think this is as competitive a region as there is out there. I think that top to bottom, you've got quality. I still think Brentwood is kind of the ahead of the class. As you will. 7 return starters on defense, specialists, and all that. Coach Finch has got these guys playing extremely well, very confident. I think the question is going to be, can anybody knock them off? Because anybody in this region can pretty much knock somebody off. I think that Will Hester, you never can count Ravenwood out. They very well could go on a run. All it takes is one win, knock Brentwood off, and you may find yourself in the catbird seat. But a couple of teams to watch. Yeah, Franklin to me, once they get on field, if they can once they break through that and get confidence, they get that win, those guys are incredibly hungry. They are incredibly hungry. And I think if they get a win early under their belt and get that out of the way, watch out. Because I think that team could actually finish in the second or third position. I think they have that much talent, but it's just, getting a taste of that success. I think Brian Coleman's team, I think that those guys are looking at a playoff spot. After having, they lost so much a couple of years ago. They're returning, not a whole lot on offense, 3-3, but I think as long as you got Dominic Hollis in the backfield, you've got a chance. Brian Coleman teams are always tough.
All right, Joe, you're up.
Yeah, I mean, you guys covered it all. I think for me, I think Brentwood's the team to beat in that region. But I think Brentwood could have a team that really makes a deep postseason run too. They bring in a quarterback in Baylor Hayes from Florida. I highly recommend go watch if you want to go watch some fun film. His huddle tape is really impressive. He's a gunslinger. His kid's got a great arm. He's going to give Brentwood a quarterback that can really stretch the field, which I think at times last year they didn't do enough. They had the offense to do that. They had the weapons, but at times they really didn't do that. They were really led by that defense, and like Scott said, they returned 7 starters on that defense. So I think that side of the ball they'll be just fine. Offensively, I kind of want to see them take that next step up to not only compete for a region title, but to really establish themselves as one of the top teams in 6A. Franklin, I think, is a sleeping giant. I think they got a lot of young kids that have gotten a lot of experience the last couple of years, and they're tired of losing. I think they compete for a really good spot in that region. Ravenwood, they lost a lot, but they had a lot of experience last year playing without Chris Parson, who got hurt midway through the season. Carter Pace is back. He had a huge season last year for the Raptors. So I think really you look at those 3 teams, and then Summit, Independence, they're going to have some young kids that played a bit last year that got the experience they needed. But I think all roads run through Brentwood right now, and I think they're in for a huge year.
Yeah, didn't a lot of mention of Overton here. Kind of a young team over there for our Sensei Broom. They have only maybe a handful of players that have even 2 years of experience. They lost so much from last year's team that could be kind of an uphill struggle for them in this region, at least for this year anyway. But be interesting to see how the Bobcats handle that transition over to Region 6. We'll wrap this up with Region 7, which is an all Montgomery County region plus Dixon County. So all those Clarksville teams are going to battle each other for a few playoff spots, and then you throw Dixon County in there. Is there a team that jumps out as you as someone who can make a deep postseason run, or is this going to be kind of a free-for-all?
Free-for-all. This is my pick. Clarksville's probably the favorite to win the region, but after that, no idea. It could end up 1,000 different ways. One team that I am intrigued by, though, in their first year, and that's Kirkwood High School. Coach Chad Watson, a guy that's from our area, has moved back to the Clarksville area and has taken that head coaching job. Really like what I've seen in preseason scrimmages against, they looked really good in the scrimmage against Maplewood, which, Maplewood is a program that's trying to build its way up just like Kirkwood is. So kind of a similar opponent there. Kirkwood's athletic, but with a young program, they have some holes on the offensive line, defensive line. Those type of things take time. So not sure if they can be a playoff team this year or not. I do think they will compete for a playoff spot. But but yeah, it's a toss-em for everybody after Clarksville.
Scott, you've seen Kirkwood in person. Get your impression on them real quick.
Yeah, I have. They're a young team. They have good size in certain spots, but one place that they really have a good person at is quarterback position. The quarterback there that they brought in, and I don't have his name, but he absolutely can put the ball on the money. Chad Watson was very happy with his performance at the Maplewood scrimmage. Uh, you know, they're a blue collar team, but to tell you the truth, you look at this this lineup. Will they be there this year? I think they may be able to make a run for that 4th spot, possibly get in there. I don't know if I know that knowing Chad, he's got his eye on the top spot, but I think that they really could make a run. I think. Truthfully, Clarksville, I agree. Clarksville is the pick here. Coach Shelby always has a good team, but watch out for Northeast. I think Northeast, they have a new exciting young coach. I believe I want to say his name is Nipsey, but forgive me. But I think that they've got a really good shot of really doing well in this region.
Sam Lipsey is the new head coach.
Lipsey, thank you. I'm glad you look. I was
right.
in the middle of looking
you're on the right
up.
track today. Yeah.
Well, I mean, he was on Watson's staff back in the day, and
Yep.
yeah, and Coach Watson has nothing but great things to say about him. So he comes right off that Watson coaching tree.
Yep. Joe, bring it home for us.
I think it's Clarksville as the favorite. I think one team to really keep an eye out that may compete for a top 2 spot, maybe top 3, Dickson County. Why not the Cougars? They go from a couple of years ago being in that really brutal Williamson County region where they had some good teams, but they just couldn't stack up against the likes of the Ravenwoods and Brentwoods. And then the last couple of years, they were in the same region as Smyrna and Gavik and Cane Ridge. I think they're in a really good region where they can make some noise and beat and potentially push for a winning record. I know they haven't had one of those in a long time, but I think it's still Clarksville. But I'm going to keep an eye on Dickson County this year. I just think they could make some noise and really get things going in that region, make it exciting.
That's all the regions in 6A for our area. So before we head out of here, I'm going to put you guys to the test real quick. Give me a Blue Cross Bowl in 6A. Who you got winning? Winner and loser.
Oakland Brentwood.
I picked Oakland over Bartlett. Panthers have been a team that's been there a couple times in the semifinals and haven't broke through to make it to a state title game yet. Coach Harris went from Haywood over to Bartlett, so had to go with Bartlett as the runner-up, but definitely Oakland to four-peat.
All right.
Oakland Germantown.
That's a good one.
I like that.
I just think that Germantown is. I think Oakland over Germantown, but I think Germantown has brought in a couple pieces to make themselves even better.
Because this is, last year all I talked about though, as we wrap things up here in 6A, to beat a man, you got to beat the man, and ain't nobody beat Oakland yet.
Yep. Very true.
Yeah.
What about you, Chris?
I've got Oakland over Brentwood at the moment. Well, that is all the damage we can do for this preview episode. We've gotten 2/3 of our area knocked down. We've got one more to go for you tomorrow. We will cover all of Division 2. For Cam, for Joe, for Scott, I'm Chris. We will see you next time on the Midstate 48, powered by Miracle Auto Group. Division 2 is up next. We'll see you guys later.